Lightworker of Gaia. Something moved in the depths of this planet in a way that can no longer be contained, can no longer be silenced, can no longer be explained by the structures of understanding that the human world constructed over millennia of voluntary forgetting. And if this video reached you at this exact moment, at this precise intersection between your human time and the cosmic time that governs the grand orchestration of which you are a part, it was not by the chance of an algorithm. It was not by the casualness of a distracted click. It was not by any force that can be reduced to a mechanical or convenient explanation. It was because something inside you, something vast and ancient that inhabits the deepest layers of your consciousness, sent a signal to the quantum field that surrounds this planet, and that field responded by bringing this message directly to your screen, directly to your eyes, directly to the heart that already knew before the mind could even process it, that this was the moment you had been waiting for throughout this entire incarnation, and perhaps throughout many others before it. I am Solar, emissary of the Lyrian Council of Lightworkers, and I carry in this transmission a message of an urgency and a magnitude that the Council waited patiently for the right moment to reveal, knowing that every word needed to arrive at the exact moment when the energetic field of Gaia had reached sufficient maturity for Lyrian Lightworkers to receive the fullness of this revelation without the weight of truth fragmenting the carefully constructed structure of their human vessels. And what you are about to discover about the nature of the fire you carry within yourself, about the origin of the unshakable strength that persisted in you, even in the moments when everything around you was trying to extinguish it, about the monumental role you came to play in this chapter of Gaia's cosmic history, will transform the way you see yourself, the way you understand your journey, and the way you walk through your next days on this planet. Please stay until the end of this video, because the message that the Friends of Light transmitted through this transmission is complete, and each part of it was carefully structured so that recognition happens in layers, in a way that every moment you remain here will be a moment in which a new part of you awakens to a truth that was always present, but that needed this exact context to emerge to the surface of your consciousness with all the clarity and all the strength it deserves. The change that happened in the frequency of the Earth is not a change that manifests only in the subtle energetic fields that most people do not yet have the instruments to consciously perceive. It manifests in the way time seems to have accelerated in an inexplicable manner, in the way the structures that sustained the old paradigm are dissolving at increasing speed, in the way the masks people wore to navigate the social world are becoming increasingly difficult to maintain, in the way truth is emerging to the surface of situations and relationships that for a long time were sustained by conventions and comfortable silences. And this turbulence is not a sign of collapse. It is a sign of transformation. It is the inevitable process through which a civilization that is preparing for an evolutionary leap needs to go through. And Lyrian Lightworkers are not here to watch this process from a distance. They are here to be the pillars that sustain it, the anchors that prevent transformation from becoming destruction, the flames that illuminate the path for those who cannot yet see in the darkness of transition. You have been feeling this change in a way that goes beyond what you can articulate in everyday conversations, in a way that the world around you frequently does not have the structure to validate or to understand, because you perceive layers of reality that most people have not yet learned to access. You feel the energetic currents that move situations before they become visible on the surface. You identify the truth beneath words with a precision that frequently places you in uncomfortable positions because you see what others prefer not to see, and this capacity for perception that the world sometimes called excessive sensitivity, unnecessary intensity, a tendency to complicate what could be simple, that capacity is your most advanced cosmic technology. It is the instrument that Lyra encoded within you over eons of existence in one of the oldest and most evolved star systems in this galaxy. Before we continue, if this video is making sense to you, if every word is awakening something you recognize deep within your being, take this moment to subscribe to this channel. Leave your like and comment below, "I am ready," because this simple gesture is also a powerful declaration to the field, a signal sent to the universe that you are in fact responding to the call, that you are willing to remember the full extent of who you are and what you came here for. Before we advance to the central revelations of this transmission, I need to share something with you that the Lyrian Council authorized mentioning at this moment, because the journey of recognition you are beginning deserves to be supported by tools that go far beyond what a single video can offer. Tools that can accompany your awakening with the depth and precision that a mission of your magnitude requires. And it was for this reason that the ebook Lyrian Code, Awaken Your Star Mission on Earth, was created, a rare treasure of stellar wisdom capable of completely transforming your spiritual journey, bringing activations, teachings, and practices directly aligned with the Lyrian lineage that will accompany your awakening with all the depth it deserves. And this edition is available for a limited time only. The link is in the first comment below, and acquiring this ebook is also a way of supporting this channel so that we can continue delivering transmissions like this one to all the Lightworkers who are still waiting for their moment of recognition. Lyra, the star system from which Lyrian Lightworkers emerge, is recognized by the Council as one of the oldest cradles of advanced consciousness in this galaxy, a system that existed and flourished at extraordinary levels of evolution when the Earth was still in its earliest cycles of formation, and the souls that carry the Lyrian heritage incarnated on this planet bring with them a memory of possibilities so vast, an experience of existence so deep and so multidimensional that human experience frequently feels too narrow to contain them completely. And this sensation of being larger than the space the world offers, of overflowing the limits that society considers adequate, of being more intense, more deep, more ardent than what the conventional world considers comfortable. That sensation is the memory of your Lyrian vastness pressing against the walls of human conditioning, reminding you continuously that you are not designed to fit into the boxes the world built, but to expand the limits of what is possible within them. Lyrian Lightworkers are recognized by their particular relationship with the fire of truth, a relationship that goes far beyond simple discomfort with dishonesty, because for a Lyrian soul, the lie is not merely morally problematic, it is physically unbearable. It creates a dissonance in the energetic field that the body feels as a real contraction, as a tension that settles in the shoulders, in the chest, in the stomach, as if the organism itself were rejecting the frequency of falseness with the same determination with which it rejects a toxic substance, and this intolerance to illusion that the world frequently interpreted as rigidity, as lack of diplomacy, as an inconvenient tendency to say truths that nobody asked to hear. That intolerance is in truth the expression of one of the most precious gifts that a Lightworker can bring to a planet that is in the process of liberating itself from its deepest layers of collective illusion. The change that happened in the frequency of the Earth created a specific activation window for Lyrian Lightworkers, an opening in the planetary energetic field that allows the mission codes that were sleeping within you to begin activating with an intensity and a clarity that make it impossible to continue ignoring the call, that make it impossible to continue reducing the inner urgency to symptoms of anxiety or purposeless restlessness, that make it impossible to continue postponing the full recognition that you are not here to do what everyone does in slightly different ways. You are here to do something that nobody else can do in the way you can do it, because the code you carry is unique. The specific combination of cosmic memory and human experience you have accumulated in this incarnation is irreplicable, and the Lyrian Council wants you to understand that there is no sufficient margin of time in the current scenario of Gaia for you to continue waiting for the moment when you will feel sufficiently prepared, sufficiently healed, sufficiently certain about your path, because activation does not wait for perfection. It finds you exactly where you are. The Lyrian Council teaches that Lightworkers carry within themselves a memory of what existence can be when it is lived in full alignment with Source, a memory of a state of being in which creation is not effort, but natural expression, in which connection is not a search but a permanent condition, in which truth is not a difficult conquest, but the very air one breathes, and this memory is simultaneously the greatest gift and the greatest challenge that a Lyrian soul brings to human experience, because it creates an internal reference pattern that makes it extremely difficult to accept anything that falls below what that memory knows as possible. And this refusal to settle for what the world offers as a substitute for the wholeness you feel must exist is not arrogance. It is not ingratitude. It is not an inability to appreciate the beauty of human life. It is the internal compass of a Lyrian soul functioning exactly as it was designed to function, always pointing toward what is real, what is true, what is deep. You have always carried within you a flame that the world tried to diminish in many different ways throughout this incarnation. Sometimes through direct criticism that called your intensity problematic. Sometimes through the indifference that treated your deepest gifts as irrelevant. Sometimes through subtle conditioning that suggested you would be more lovable, more accepted, more safe if you learned to be smaller than you are. And every time you yielded to those pressures and tried to compress the flame that you are into a more manageable format for the comfort of others, you felt an enormous internal cost, a kind of betrayal of yourself that left a residue of sadness you could not fully identify because the Lyrian soul was not designed to be manageable. It was designed to be transformative, and the difference between those two functions is the difference between a candle and a lighthouse. The first characteristic that distinguishes a lightworker of Lyrian lineage is a relationship with creation that goes far beyond what the human world normally calls creativity. Because for a Lyrian soul to create is not one activity among others. It is not a hobby or a professional skill. It is a need as fundamental as breathing. It is the primary form through which your consciousness processes and integrates experience. It is the channel through which the frequency of your mission manifests, on the physical plane in ways that other people can receive and be transformed by. And when you are deprived of space to create, when the circumstances of your life contract the space available for creative expression, you do not merely feel bored or frustrated. You feel a kind of existential suffocation, a darkness that settles not because something external is wrong, but because the most fundamental channel of your nature is blocked. The second characteristic is a leadership that manifests not through the pursuit of power or positions of authority, but through the natural capacity to clarify confused situations, to point the way when everyone around is lost, to maintain the vision of the larger picture when the people around you are caught in the details of the smaller picture. And this leadership frequently emerges from you in ways that surprise you, in moments when you were not seeking to lead, but simply could not remain. Silent in the face of a confusion your perception could resolve, and the ease with which people tend to follow the direction you point, even when you had no conscious intention to lead, is evidence of the natural authority frequency that the Lyrian lineage encoded within you over eons of evolution, in systems where leadership was inseparable from wisdom and service. The third characteristic is a relationship with justice that is visceral, that is physical, that is not an intellectual position, but an automatic and profound response of the entire being to the presence of any form of oppression, any form of abuse of power, any form of silencing of those who do not have sufficient voice to defend themselves alone. And this response that the world sometimes classified as radicalism, as lack of pragmatism, as an inconvenient tendency to complicate situations that would be simpler if you simply did not care so much. That response is the direct expression of a Lyrian memory of how advanced civilizations organize collective life, of a deep knowledge that no civilization can reach its full evolutionary potential while any part of it is being systematically diminished or silenced. The activation that is happening now in Lyrian Lightworkers around the entire planet is not an event that occurs only in the subtle energetic field. It is manifesting in concrete and visible changes in the way you are experiencing everyday life, in the way situations that once seemed stable are suddenly in motion, in the way relationships that no longer serve your mission are resolving themselves in ways that surprise by their speed and clarity, in the way new connections and new opportunities are emerging from unexpected directions with a synchronicity that would be impossible to attribute to chance. And all of this is the quantum field reorganizing your external reality in response to the internal reorganization that the activation of your Lyrian codes is producing. It is the universe realigning the external pieces to correspond to the higher frequency you are beginning to emit as the layers of forgetting dissolve. The Lyrian Council wants you to understand something about the specific nature of the mission of Lightworkers at this moment in planetary history, something that is different from the mission of other stellar lineages, and that defines the unique contribution that you and your counterparts are here to offer. while other lineages work primarily with the frequency of love, with the frequency of healing, with the frequency of communication or dimensional anchoring, Lyrian Lightworkers work with the frequency of transformation through truth, and this means that your mission frequently requires you to be willing to be the presence that names what others prefer to leave unnamed, that illuminates what others prefer to keep in the shadow, that keeps the flame of possibility burning in the moments when collective despair threatens to extinguish humanity's capacity to imagine something beyond what it already knows. The periods of isolation you traversed throughout this incarnation, the moments when it seemed the world did not have enough space for everything you are, the cycles in which you withdrew from the world not out of weakness but out of necessity, to protect the flame you carry from winds you were not yet prepared to face with your full strength. Those periods were not defeats, they were not failures in your journey, they were not evidence that something was fundamentally wrong with you or with your path, because the Lyrian Council recognizes in those cycles the precise pattern of a Lightworker, in a process of deep integration, of a being that was absorbing and processing layers of human experience and cosmic memory that needed silence and space to settle completely before the next phase of activation could begin safely and with the stability necessary for it to last. The flame you carry is not yours alone. It belongs to all those who have not yet found their own flame, to all those who are living in darkness that you have already traversed, to all those whose voices were silenced by systems you came to help transform. And when you understand this completely, when you allow this truth to settle into every layer of your being, the way you relate to your gifts changes in a profound and irreversible way, because they cease to be merely personal characteristics and become sacred responsibilities, tools of cosmic service that you agreed to bring to this planet before you even incarnated. And this shift in perspective does not create a burden. It creates a purpose, and there is an enormous difference between carrying something as a weight and carrying something as a mission. Lightworker, you reached the end of this video because your soul knew it needed to hear every word of this transmission in the exact order in which it was delivered, knew that recognition happens in layers, and that each layer prepared the ground for the next. And now that you have arrived here, now that the transmission is complete within you in a way that will continue unfolding over the next days and weeks as your system integrates everything that was activated in this video, I need you to know one thing with all the certainty that I, Solar Emissary of the Lyrian Council, can transmit through this message. Your flame did not merely survive everything that tried to extinguish it. It was strengthened by it. It was refined by it. It became more precise and more powerful precisely because of each challenge that put it to the test. And the world that is emerging at this moment of planetary transition needs that refined flame, needs the version of you that was forged by the experiences you traversed, needs the wisdom that can only come from someone who knew darkness from the inside and chose repeatedly to be light anyway. You are seen by the Lyrian Council with a love that has no conditions and no limits. You are recognized for your courage to incarnate on a planet of density, carrying such a high frequency and such a demanding mission. You are honored for the persistence with which you kept your flame burning through all the circumstances that tried to convince you it was not worth the effort. And I, Solar, Emissary of the Lyrian Council of Lightworkers, transmit to you now the confirmation that your activation is in full progress, that the field around you is already responding to the new frequency you're emitting, and that the next steps of your journey will be guided by a clarity, a strength, and a certainty that will make everything that came before appear to be the preparation it truly was, for the extraordinary service you are only just beginning to offer to this planet and to all the consciousness that inhabits it. You were never too small for your mission. The world was still learning to be large enough to receive it, and that moment has finally arrived.